Hi, good morning. Hello. Can you people give me a mark of your presence? If you could just write a good morning and if you could just let me know whether I'm audible or not.
Very good morning, Kavita ma'am.
Good morning, Abhishek sir. Okay, people have started raising their hands. Right. Hi, people. Good morning. How are you doing? It is lovely to see such intellectual minds on a Sunday morning to spare some time to get some answers to the questions burning in their heads right now. I feel too excited to see all of you here. God knows why. But nice. I'm happy to see that a lot of people have been joining it. We'll wait for another minute or so. We will not take a lot of time. Let the students just join in, as many students as possible, because we obviously wouldn't want anyone to miss upon anything important. Other than that, I hope you've had your morning coffee, you've sipped your cup probably exercise and then getting to know how can you actually board the flight of your dreams. Honestly, I was very excited because I thought this was going to be um, an amazing learning experience for everyone. And what better than sharing knowledge with each other, probably over a cup of tea or coffee. You can all feel free to grab your cups. Uh, okay. All right. Now that we have most of the participants here, hello, and welcome to this inquisitive webinar, is what I'd say. So that would not be the right adjective, but I would say the digital city. So that means how can we score the perfect 1600 in the SAT paper? Before we proceed, I'd like to present to you a quick introduction of what Allen Global Studies Division is. Or people have already started. Ma'am, your voice is. Am I audible to everyone? Abhishek sir, can you hear me? If you could just give me a thumbs up.
Yes, ma'am. You are pretty audible to everyone. Good morning,
All
everyone.
right. Loud and clear, right?
Yes, ma'am. Loud and clear. Absolutely.
Okay, someone just messaged that my voice, ma'am, your voice is breaking constantly. So just wanted to check upon that. All right, but yeah, I think you'll have to check upon your internet connection once. Try rejoining if possible. Okay. So established in 2017, Allen Global, a vertical of Allen Career Institute Private Limited. It rapidly evolved from supporting four students initially, guys, just four students, to securing over 1,650 admit offers to top international universities and achieving a landmark with its first MIT's Massachusetts Institute of Technology, admit in the inaugural year. The vertical, that means Allen Global Studies Division, it specializes in test prep, consulting for students, targeting top 200 global universities for their UG studies, establishing itself as a leader in educational consultancy. Allen Global specializes in strategic plans to deliver personalized mentoring, something all of us look at, application assistance, test preparation to help school students, the ones who are looking to pursue their undergrad studies abroad. And looking at the personalized mentoring and the application assistant, I would like to go back to my student era and would I mean, if I were able to do that, I would have loved to do that, because mentors is what we look at. All right, moving on to the purpose we've gathered here for. Can you move on to the next slide, please, Abhishek sir? Right. So we've gathered here to talk about SAT. I have my colleague Abhishek sir here. Abhishek sir is one of the senior faculty members and he's the one who would be your quant specialist in SAT. So I'd like to hand over the stage to Abhishek, sir, so that he could give us a quick introduction of the structure of SAT, and if he could let us know a brief overview is what I'd say. Over to you, Abhishek, sir.
Thank you very much, Kavita ma'am. A very good morning to all your aspirants. My name is Abhishek and I'm the maths faculty. Okay, so here we are about to speak about the SAT test. First of all, I would like to let you know that SAT is Scholastic Assessment Test. Previously, it was known as Scholastic Aptitude Test. So it is Scholastic Assessment Test nowadays. It is basically for undergrad admissions, students who plan to study abroad. Usually, they take SAT examination and it is conducted by College Board. The basic information you can see on the screen that it is known as SAT, and now since it has become digital, so the duration of SAT has been reduced. Earlier it was a bit longer, but now the duration is of 134 minutes, which is 2 hours and 14 minutes, where you have two sections in this SAT. Two, not two section exactly. There are two part. One is maths, other is English, mathematics and verbal. And in every you can say in all mathematics also you get two sections, in verbal also you get two section. This you can see on the screen that the English section, where you have again two part, that is reading and writing, would have 64 minutes time, and the mathematics would have 70 minutes time. One student can score minimum of 400 in SAT and maximum of 1600. What does it mean? Like English scores ranges between 200 to 800. Similarly, the maths ranges between 200 to 800. Now you need to understand what exactly is this 200. It simply means it is as good as zero. If you have not done anything in your paper, then also you will get 200 in English. Similarly, you will get 200 in maths. So the total score, the overall score ranges between 400 to maximum 1600. So SAT examination cost, it is conducted by College Board, I already said, and the cost varies somewhere around 9,000 to 10,500. Moving to the next slide, talking about SAT further, like as I said that the two sections has two modules, maths and English. Now English has two modules, 32-minute module where you would get 27 question of English in module 1. Similarly, maths had two module where you get 22 question in each of the module. So English would have 54 question, 27 question each in module of 32 minutes. Maths would have 22 question per module, 35 minutes per module. Also, there is a 10 minutes break between the English section and math section. Now, most important part we need to understand here is now this SAT paper has become section wise adaptive. This is very important to understand. It has become section wise adaptive. What exactly I mean to say? It is that the very first section, no matter in English or no matter in maths, the very first section would be a mixed bag. Mixed bag means it would carry questions, easy questions also. It carries medium, the moderate questions also, and difficult questions also. Based on your performance, the way you solve the question, the more correct it is, or the your performance would determine the next module, whether it will come easier or it would come a bit difficult. If you make it correct, if you do it fantastic, the next section would be a bit difficult. If you have made many mistakes, the next section would be easier. So this has become section wise adaptive. Now we have discussed the number of questions. So you can see the totality of the question is 98 and the time is 134 minutes. 54 of English of 27 question per section each, 44 of maths, 22 question per section each, per module each. Moving to the next slide, here what exactly we're trying to say is, when we talk about GRE GMAT examination, which is post-grad entrance examination, GMAT basically is a question-wise adaptive examination. What exactly it means? You cannot see the next question because based on the performance on the existing question, the next question would determine. But this liberty is here with this SAT examination that you can scroll within the section. It means आप पीछे जा सकते हैं, आप अपने आंसर को चेंज कर सकते हैं, यू अलाउड टू मेक मिस्टेक्स और उसको वापस आके रेक्टिफाई मिस्टेक आई मीन टू से अगर आपने कोई क्वेश्चन को लग रहा है गलत किया है, आप वापस आके चेंज करना चाहते हैं, कर सकते हैं विद इन टाइम। ये बस ध्यान रखना है आपको कि हम लोगों का टारगेट होना चाहिए कि हम क्वेश्चन को अनमार्क्ड नहीं रखें। व्हाई? बिकॉज देयर इज नो नेगेटिव मार्किंग। सो you're allowed to make mistakes, we have mentioned, but आपको ध्यान रखना है कि रॉन्ग आंसर से आपका स्कोर इंपैक्ट नहीं हो रहा है, बट आपको अनआंसर्ड नहीं रखना है। क्यों? क्योंकि आप अगर अनआंसर्ड रखते हो तो एनीवे स्कोर आपको नहीं मिलने वाला, बट आप अटेम्प्ट करते हो, डेडिकेटेड अटेम्प्ट करो सो दैट आपके प्रोबेबिलिटी बढ़ जाए क्वेश्चन के सही होने के। टॉकिंग अबाउट मैथमेटिक्स सेक्शन, calculator allowed रहेगा, the calculator would allowed throughout the math section, and you have in on screen calculator there, and आप आपका खुद का भी calculator लेके जा सकते हो, सिर्फ वो कॉलेज बोर्ड का रिक्वायरमेंट फुलफिल करते होना चाहिए। दैट इज इट। Moving further to the next slide, I would request Kovida ma'am to please discuss these slides because this is about SAT verbal. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Abhishek, sir. That was a quick overview. That was really a quick overview, but it was pretty much detailed. So I really appreciate how you meticulously touched all the details of it. Moving on to the first part of the SAT section, which is SAT verbal. Now here it is divided into the SAT verbal section is divided into two main parts, people. One is reading test and the other one is writing and language test. And if you look at the breakdown of the domains, in the reading text, number one, you have command of evidence. When I say command of evidence, that means you're supposed to look forward to finding some of the evidences for your answer that support your answer. If you do not have an evidence, that means your answer is most probably incorrect. So the trick to such questions is, if you do not have an evidence, that means your answer would be most probably incorrect. It's most likely to be incorrect. Number one is command of evidence, where you are supposed to cite textual evidence. The questions that ask you to identify a part of the passage that supports the answer to a previous question, right? You're supposed to understand the arguments here, analyze how the author builds an argument, include, identify supporting evidence, is what I just mentioned. And this is something that I tell to a lot of students in the class, and I mean, we joke about it. I tell them it's very easy to crack the SAT paper, only if you know how to cheat, not from someone else's paper, but from the question paper itself. The SAT paper is very easy, guys. It's just that, my dear students, you should know how to find the answers from the question paper itself. Everything is there in the paper. You just have to know how to decode the questions. I repeat, not from someone else's paper. Coming on to the next part, which is words in context. This is also known as the vocabulary section. This is where most of the students struggle. Here, if you go by what the name suggests, it says words in context. So the common misinterpretation of this type of question is that you have to know the dictionary meaning of the words, which is absolutely not the case. You should not, or actually you do not have to know the dictionary meaning of the word. You just have to find what is the meaning of that specific word in that specific context. For example, the other day I moved out of a movie theater, and this is something I told all my students in the class as well. So I moved out of a movie theater, and I overheard some of the teenagers talking, and then they said, "What a crazy movie, man. I would love to watch it again." That's one context. Context number two, if I say, "Are you crazy? Why don't you understand things in the first place?" So I've used the same word in two different contexts. Now, if I go by the dictionary meaning of the word crazy, that would mean an altogether different thing. However, if I say it was a crazy movie, you should watch it, that means I'm happy about it. That means this word has some sort of positive connotation. So you don't have to necessarily know the dictionary meaning of the word. You have to know what is the meaning of that word in that particular context. And that's when it would make a lot of sense. Don't undersell your skill set, my dear students. Do not. That's what a lot of students do. You happen to there's this misconception. A lot of students happen to understand it as something like you really need to know the dictionary meanings. And when you get some high flown words, and you start selling your skill set at a very low price, and then you happen to imagine that this is something I do not know of, this is a very high flown word. No, it's not. Try to understand what is the author trying to say. What is the tone? What is the mood of the character? Is the character happy? What style is he talking in? Is he sad? What is the overall meaning that is the author or the character trying to convey? And that's when you will be able to find the meaning of the word in the context. And this is what we call the vocabulary questions. That's how the students understand it. This is not a problem at all. So the trick to questions that fall under the category of words and contexts is: do not look for dictionary meaning. I repeat, look for the meaning of the word as per the given context. That means understand the connotation of the word, whether it is a positive connotation or a negative connotation. Try to understand the tone of the author or the tone of the character and the style. And when you read the context and noun, whenever you read the scene setting, you would know what is the meaning of the word. You will be able to guess it. Can we move on to the next slide, please, Abhishek sir? Right. The next category here is information and ideas and rhetoric. Let's discuss information and ideas. Here, you're supposed to read for detail questions that ask you about specific details in the passage. You may have the next category, summarizing questions that ask you to identify the main idea or the theme of the passage or a part of the passage. When I say main idea, that means you need to understand what exactly is the author trying to say in an overall context, not just one specific detail. The next category is inference, questions that ask you to draw conclusion based on information in the passage. And the last one is understanding relationships, as in how are you comparing information, how are you contrasting information, understanding the cause and effect, the sequence of events. Now, can you identify one point of commonality in all the questions, all the types of questions we just read? That one point of commonality here is specific details in the passage, main idea of the passage, based on information in the passage. And then that's again the same thing in the last question. That means I come back to the statement I started from. You need to look for the information from the passage itself. Any and everything is there. It's just that I'll tell you where the students go wrong. They either try to read between the lines, that is clearly not required. They either try to interpret things on the basis of the information that they've gathered from the outside world. That is again a major problem. Then, from the information that you've gathered from the outside world, you happen to come to conclusions that are not even mentioned in the passage. And then you say problem, and then you end up saying, ma'am, I didn't understand. I don't know how to find the main idea. How is that even practically possible? You do not know how to find. Okay, let's take a very funny example. All of us end up gossiping, right? We do understand the main idea of the gossip. How do we understand that? That means we are we it's not that we lack that ability. It's just that we are underselling our skill set. So the problem is we try to look for information that is not even present in the passage, and that's when we end up getting wrong answers. So whatever it is, try to look for an evidence. If you do not have an evidence, if you're going too broad or if you're going too narrow, that means you're most likely getting an incorrect answer. The next category of question is rhetoric, where you're supposed to analyze three things. Number one, the purpose of a specific part of the passage. Number two, point of view. That means questions that require you to identify the author's point of view or attitude, or analyze how it affects the passage. And number three, the structure. That means questions that focus on the organization of the passage. When I say organization of the passage, I mean how is it structured? The overall structuring of the passage, how one idea connects to the other, how are they interlinked, how are they, how beautifully have they weaved in. and how it moves from one point to another. That's how you identify the overall structure, how different parts relate to each other. So again, the trick to everything is it is given in the passage. You just have to keep all the information from the outside world outside. When you focus on the SAT paper, specifically the passages in the verbal section, try to find out answers from the passage itself. If you have an evidence for it, if you have an explanation for it, you most likely have the right answer. Can we move on to the next part, please, Abhishek sir? Right. Again, writing in language test, now command of evidence. This command of evidence is different from that command of evidence, the one we just read in the reading section. This command of evidence, it helps you to, it asks you to improve argumentation, questions that ask you to add, advise, or retain the best evidence to support a point. And that one was textual. This is not textual. And developing ideas. When I say developing ideas, questions that require you to refine the expression of ideas and improve the clarity of an argument. That means, how is actually the argument going about it? That's what you're supposed to be understanding. Again, whatever is written, that is the point. Do not bring any information from the outside world. Even if you want to interpret, try interpreting from the passage itself. That would not be a problem. However, if you try to link your prior knowledge to the passage, that is the problem then. Again, we have words in context, which is precision in word choice. That means that will ask you to choose a word or phrase that most accurately and concisely conveys the intended meaning. That's again the same thing. It's just that you need to understand what is the meaning of the word in that particular context. No dictionary meanings required. I mean, it's good to know the dictionary meanings. Why not? When I say this, no dictionary meanings required, I do not necessarily mean that you do not or you must not know the meanings of the words. You may not. I mean, it would be practically impossible for all of you to retain the entire dictionary, even for me, that for that matter. But what we could probably try to understand here is the key or the trick here is, let's try to figure out what the context is. Effect of word choice on tone and style, right? The tone would let you understand, is the person agitated? Is the person angry? Is the person in a good tone, a bad tone, happy about something, wants to celebrate, sad about something, has probably lost something in life, or whatever? And the style of the passage, of course, that is the scene setting of the passage. The next one, please, sir. Expression of ideas. Okay, this is something that is that plays an important role, and standard English conventions. This is where a lot of students struggle. So the main point of struggle for the students is the gap, expression of ideas, and standard English conventions, other than, some student specific areas. Now, in the expression of ideas, you really need to understand the overall organization, the coherence of the passage. When I say, I'm assuming you people know what is the meaning of coherence and cohesion. Just in case you do not, I would let you know a brief about. So basically, it means how the ideas are interlinked with each other. That is in a very layman's language. That's what coherence is. What is the vocab used there? What kind of words are used there? How the ideas and sentences are linked to each other? Is the structure being followed or not? Right. So you have to understand the sentence order, the overall organization, and effective language use. That means effectiveness of communication by making sentences more precise and combining sentences. So this is also where a lot of students struggle. They don't know how to combine sentences. And the only way they can come up with combining sentences is using conjunctions. But that's not the only case. Yes, that is a case, but that is not the only case. Right? So when I say combining sentences, there are multiple other ways. You know what? You could use a preposition. You could use the trailing phrase there. You could use a conjunction there. You could change the introductory phrase. So there are different ways of combining a sentence. And because the students have not read about it, they might end up joining the sentences with a conjunction that would affect the overall meaning of the sentence, and hence the clarity would be lost. The purpose here is better clarity. But what we end up doing is, because we don't know multiple ways of combining sentences, we happen to combine them in a particular way we know of, something that we've learning over and over years now. And then we end up losing the clarity. And the last part is standard English conventions. This is something I'm very fond of, and I love this part of the SAT exam. Grammar and usage. So they test your knowledge of standard grammar, usage, and punctuation. Punctuation is where a lot of students struggle, specifically semicolons, colons, even commas for that matter. It came as a surprise to me when I see that the students are struggling with commas. And when I tried decoding it a little, I realized the students happen to understand a comma is used only when you're supposed to be giving a small pause. But that's not the only case. The commas are used for multiple other reasons in the SAT exam. Grammar. When I say grammar, there are multiple aspects of grammar that we are touching. We use modifiers. I remember mentioning this very funny example in one of the SAT webinars, and my former students happen to love this example a lot. I don't know, probably Gen Z likes such examples. So, for example, I've been telling them, let's say someone says, "I love you" to you. Let's say your mother comes to you and says, "I love you." You end up saying, "I love you too," and that's incorrect. That is grammatically incorrect. It should be "I too love you." It should not be "I love you too." That means you love this person, but you love someone else too. I love you too. I love someone else, but I love you too. So that's how the meaning changes. This is what we mean by grammar. So instead, you should say, "I too love you." That's one of the examples. And can you imagine, this example was given to me by my mother? So this is something that we need to understand how. Yeah, Meher, we'll go back to the previous slide in a moment, if you could just allow me a moment. So this is what we mean by grammar. It's not just one thing. We have nouns, we pronounce, we've got conjunctions, prepositions, punctuation, modifiers, so multiple things. And then we have focus on word choice. You've moved on to the previous slide, Abhishek, sir. Yeah, standard English conventions, yes. We have parallelism. Now, what do we mean by parallelism? A parallel structure is when you say, let's take an example. She likes to hike, to boat, and to run. That's one way of going about it. The second sentence is, she likes to hike, to boat, and running. Now, here, the parallel structure of the sentence is disturbed. To hike, to boat, to run. To hike, to boat, running. So that's how the structure is disturbed. This is known as parallelism. Modifier placement is what we just spoke about. Sentence boundaries, fragments. We have something known as redundancy. I might end up showing you a question related to redundancy. When I say redundancy, you have some collocations like bald-headed, foreign import, drop down. How can you drop something up? End result. That is again a problem. So this is something that can be that can be a problem when we don't understand what do we mean by redundancy. For example, I came across this statement. You will very easily find this on Google. This office does not allow redundancy in this office. Now you see, we've unnecessarily repeated "in this office" and "this office." That's what we mean by redundancy. This is also a problem, and this is also tested in the SAT paper. So multiple aspects of it in the standard English convention portion. Can we move on to the next part, please? I see that the students have been coming up with questions. I'll answer these questions. I just request you to hold that thought, and I'll come back to them. Let's take a sample question of punctuation. I'm giving you people exactly 20 seconds if you could give me an answer to this question. What is the correct answer? 20 seconds. Your time starts now. You can type your answers in the chat box. Okay, I've started receiving the answers. Someone says A, and then I have another student saying B, then C. Okay. D. Of course, one of you would be correct. Option C, option B. Come on, try to look for evidence or try to put rules here. Not actually evidence. Try to use rules here. Okay, so the majority says, "Oh, would you like to use a lifeline here? Would you like to use a phone a friend, perhaps?" Okay, D. Okay, D has become the dominating answer now. Wait, okay, all right. Let's look at the answer to this question. I'll tell you what was the trick here. Abhishek sir, could you show us the answer to the question? It's option D, guys. So the ones who said option D, congratulations. I'll tell you what was the confusion here. Because some questions will test you the use and abuse of commas. If you can't cite a reason to use one, do not. Why do you have to unnecessarily use a punctuation mark when it is not required there? This is where the students struggle. So this was sort of a reality check for most of you. The ones who said A, B, and C, right? Uh, this is where I'm sure most of you must have come across this question because this is a question easily accessible online. So that I've picked up this question on purpose just to check your understanding of it. But you see, if you considered A, B, and C to be the right answer, then you've probably not understood the use and abuse of comma. So really need to work upon the punctuation part of the grammar section. Can Okay, let's take a look at another example. Can we move on to the next question, please, Abhishek sir? Abhishek said, I see you're trying to use the pen. Okay. This is another question. Now, this is a question related to redundancy. I just told you what do we mean by redundancy. Redundancy means unnecessary repetition of the words. If you could give me an answer to this question. Okay, I'll give you a hint here. If in English I say, I wanted to discuss about the presentation, this sentence is incorrect. I wanted to discuss about the presentation. You do not use about with discuss because discuss itself means talk about. So when you say, I wanted to talk about the presentation, that is fine. However, if you use the word discuss, then you say, I wanted to discuss the presentation. You will not use the word about with discuss because it would end up meaning, I wanted to talk about the presentation. So this is what redundancy is. Now try to put the same rule to practice here. The meaning of intricate and complicated. Okay, I see the answers here. Yes. D, D, B, D. Okay, the majority says it's option B. All right. We have a few students saying it is option B, but the majority says option B. Would you like to use a lifeline here? Perhaps a 50-50 for this time. All right. D is the answer dominating here. Can we see the... Oh, someone says option C. Amazing. Abhishek sir, can we move on to the answer, please? It's option D, correct, absolutely correct. Because if you look at the meaning of intricate and complicated, this is a case of redundancy. When you say intricate, you do not have to use the word complicated here. They almost mean the same thing. The intricate design, that means complicated. Again, a reality check. Boom. Let's move on to the next question, Abhishek sir. Okay, now this is a question of word and context. I just told you what do we mean by word and context. A hint here, dear students, try to look for the meaning of the word as per the context and do not go by the dictionary meaning. 20 seconds, your time starts now. You're supposed to look for the meaning of the word quality. What does it most nearly mean? And if you look at the structure of the question, it says, as used in the text. It doesn't say the dictionary meaning of the word quality. Okay, option A is the most dominating answer here. Wonderful, wonderful. Oh, you don't need a lifeline here because I see a common consensus. Option A, option A. Lovely. All right. Can we move on to the answer, please? Option A, lovely, wonderful. See, you've started getting the essence of it. Lovely. I truly appreciate that. And the next question, that is probably the last question of the verbal section that we'd be discussing here. Uh, Explanation, because most of you had the right answer, so I'm not sure whether you'd be needing the explanation here. Now, this is where the students happen to undersell their skill set. Why? Now, most of you would assume we haven't read Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. This is going to be a problem for us. Try to read it. Try to understand which quotation most effectively illustrates the claim. Hint number one, try to identify what is the claim. Hint number two, then relate to it. Try to decode whatever is written in your own words. Daya, try to understand. What is the author trying to say? 20 seconds from now. Hint number one, try to understand what is the claim. Even if you haven't read Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, that is not a problem at all. Okay, I've started receiving the answers. Option A is what the students have to say. Option 1, option A. Again, a common consensus. Lovely. Please make sure that you have an evidence for the option you choose. If you do not have an evidence, you might end up getting a wrong answer. You should have an explanation for the answer you've chosen. Okay, someone says option B. Until now, option A was the undisputed queen. Oh, D has also come up as an answer. All right. Option A is the most dominating answer. However, we have a few students saying option B and D as well. Let's look at the correct answer, Abhishek sir. Computer G, let's see what is the right answer here. Option B. Now, the ones who said option A, do you have an explanation for your answer? Let's try to look for the explanation. Computer G, if you could show us the explanation. This is the explanation. Now, you see option A, it doesn't effectively illustrate the claim. This shows it doesn't provide evidence for Marianne's ability to persuade others. Where is the evidence? I told you, look for evidence. Number two, is why is it the best choice? Because any difference in taste was quickly overcome by the force of Marianne's argument. This choice effectively demonstrates Marianne's ability to persuade others. So again, it has an evidence. That is why option B is incorrect. And C is something that you never said. D is also again something that you never said. Oh no, one of you said D. But it doesn't provide evidence of Marianne's ability to, Marianne's ability to persuade others. If you don't have an evidence, I told you you're most likely getting a wrong answer. Do we have another question with us, Abhishek sir, or are we moving on to the quant section of it? Yes, see, okay. So these are some of the points to remember. Stay specific, eliminate choices that broaden or blur the argument. Look out for small twists and turns that make a choice seem relevant when it actually changes the focus of the argument. This is where the trick plays. This is all done to confuse you people and to check your ability of understanding things. Choose the direct and strongest answer. If you have an evidence, if a choice is almost and kind of feels how you people would like to go, kinda. So if you have an almost or kind of feels like evidence, you can likely eliminate it. That's not the right answer. If you need to connect too many dots to make the evidence match the argument, then it's probably not a strong evidence either. This is what you need to remember while solving such questions. This is a trick, guys. Please take a note of it. This is very, very important. And this is not a trick for just this type of question. This is a trick for almost all the questions. Or I'd say most of the questions in the SAT paper. I mean, of course, there are many other tricks. We can talk about those tricks once we have you as our students in the class. But just to give away the strongest possible trick, Stay specific and choose the direct and the strongest answer. All right, that marks the end of the discussion for the verbal section. Yeah, someone just mentioned options look similar. See, that's what they're trying to say. Small twists and turns that make a choice seem relevant when it is actually not. It is trying to change the focus of the argument. This is what you need to understand. They're trying to play with your brain, guys. We will not let them do that. All right, Abhishek, sir. I think that marks the end of the verbal section. Should you have any questions, you can type your question in the chat box only after we are done with the discussion of the quant section. I would like to hand it over to Abhishek, sir. He'll walk you through the quant section. He will probably end up discussing a few very important tips and tricks that will help you get through the quant section. Over to you, Abhishek, sir. And till then, if you have any questions, my dear students, you can type them in the question and answer section. But please make sure while you type the questions, you do not lose your attention and focus on whatever is being shared by Abhishek, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It was such a wonderful session. In fact, now I'm feeling that I can also take the SAT examination because I was not confident about the verbal section, but now I'm feeling that yes, even I can score better in this SAT verbal. It was wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful explanation.
We'll all sit for the paper together, including all the participants here.
Certainly, certainly. All right, ma'am. So moving to the next slide, and let's talk about the SAT mathematics structure. First, we'll talk about the SAT mathematics structure. We need to understand what are the topics, how it is classified, what is the number of questions they ask, what is the weightage. So all these things are very important to understand. So SAT mathematics is broadly classified into four major categories. Like you can see on the screen, the algebra is there, the problem solving and the data analysis is the second part, the advanced mathematics is the third part, and the geometry and trigo is the fourth part. Now, these are the major classification. Now, you may feel that what comes under algebra, what is the number of questions asked from algebra, how many questions would be asked from this problem solving or geometry. So we'll talk about that also. So let's talk about algebra. So algebra includes these topics. You can see that's basically the linear equations, the linear functions, the system of linear equations in one variable, two variable, inequalities, one variable, two variable. So this type of question usually comes in algebra. We'll see the weightage of algebra later. So let's talk about the second part, which is problem solving and data analysis. Now, if I say problem solving and data analysis, it is not giving us clarity that what comes under this, because previously I said algebra, you might have some idea that what comes in algebra, but problem solving and data analysis does not give idea. So let's discuss. Ideally, the arithmetic, which we say percentage, profit and loss, speed, distance, time and work question, this comes under this problem solving and data analysis. Also, now because it is saying data analysis also, so the statistics, the data interpretation things, probability, permutations, these things comes under the problem solving and data analysis. This was the second major part. Third, if I say, so advanced mathematics. Now, what under advanced mathematics? So you can see the equivalent expressions, very important, non-linear equations, system equations, exponents, radicals, these things comes under the advanced mathematics. And the geometry part would having the questions from 3D, from 2D, the area, the volume, circles, coordinate geometry, all these things comes under this geometry. So ideally, if I go back to these slides, so the four major classification, algebra, geometry, they are clear with its name. The two in the middle, problem solving. So we discussed the aptitude, the arithmetic majorly comes in problem solving, the percentage, profit and loss. And in advanced mathematics, what comes? The exponent, radicals, the inequalities, all these things comes under advanced mathematics. Now, this was the major classification. We covered what is asked under these topic. Now, very important, before this, as ma'am was discussing a few questions where you understood what exactly and how exactly you're supposed to do. Ma'am said that आपको क्वेश्चन के अंदर ही आंसर छिपा होता है, वो देखने आना चाहिए. सिमिलरली मैथ्स में भी कुछ डूज एंड डोंट्स होते हैं, उनको हमको समझना है. बिफोर कमिंग टू द क्वेश्चन, मैं आपको बहुत बेसिक बात समझाऊंगा. Understand how you can get a perfect score in maths. I'll tell you, 800 out of 800. Getting 800 in maths, trust me, it's very, very easy. आई एम रिपीटिंग माई स्टेटमेंट, इट इज वेरी वेरी इजी। 800 मैथ्स में लाना बहुत आसान होता है। यू जस्ट नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड अ फ्यू थिंग्स, नंबर वन। नंबर टू, यू हैव टू फॉलो अ फ्यू रूल्स। सबसे पहले आपको ये समझना है कि क्वेश्चंस जो भी आएंगे, वी डिस्कस्ड ज्योमेट्री, वी डिस्कस्ड these advanced maths, we discussed this problem, ratio, proportion, this linear equations। अगर आप इस चीज को ध्यान से समझें, देखें अगर ध्यान से, ये सारे टॉपिक्स हमने 8th, 9th और 10th में करे होते हैं। देर इज नो क्वेश्चन आस्क फ्रॉम 11th, देर इज नो क्वेश्चन आस्क फ्रॉम 11th 12th। सो ये आपका बेसिक मैथमेटिक्स है 8th 9th 10th का। बट इस बेसिक मैथमेटिक्स को एसएटी कैसे डिफिकल्ट करता है? एसएटी नेवर मेक्स क्वेश्चन डिफिकल्ट बाय इट्स लेवल। एसएटी मैथ्स का क्वेश्चन का लेवल कभी डिफिकल्ट नहीं होता है, दे मेक इट लिंग्विस्टिकली डिफिकल्ट। ठीक है, पहली चीज तो आपको समझना पड़ेगा, जो इंडियन एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन क्वेश्चन को स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड पूछता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, दे मे आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन, हाउ मेनी जीरोस आर एट द एंड ऑफ 10 फैक्टोरियल। जो बच्चे फैक्टोरियल जानते हैं, मैथ्स के जो बच्चे हैं, आपको बहुत सीधा सा सवाल पूछा है इसने कि 10 फैक्टोरियल के एंड में कितने जीरोस होते हैं, तो आपने 10 फैक्टोरियल निकाल के जीरो काउंट कर दिया। बट एसएटी इट्स मैथमेटिक्स को पूछेगा, दे विल आस्क यू इन अ वेरी डिफरेंट वे, मतलब उसको वो पूरे लैंग्वेज को चेंज कर देगा। दे में आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन लाइक x is a product of 1 to 10 exclusive inclusive, x is a product of 1 to 10 inclusive। अभी इसका मतलब समझो क्या हुआ, प्रोडक्ट ऑफ 1 से लेके 10 तक इज नथिंग बट 10 फैक्टोरियल। अब उसको उसने स्टेटमेंट बना दिया, एंड वो फिर कहेगा एंड 10 रेज टू k इज अ फैक्टर ऑफ x। अब समझो ध्यान से, जो x था 10 फैक्टोरियल एंड 10 रेज टू k इज अ फैक्टर, मतलब 10 इंटू 10 इंटू 10 इंटू वॉट नंबर ऑफ टाइम्स से वो डिवाइड होता है। तो व्हाट कैन बी द मैक्सिमम वैल्यू ऑफ k? It's the similar question that what is how many zeros are at the end of 10 factorial। तो यही समझना है कि ये लिंग्विस्टिकली डिफिकल्ट करता है, लेवल वाइज डिफिकल्ट नहीं करता, नंबर वन। नंबर टू, मैं आपको कुछ टिप्स बोल रहा हूं, वही ध्यान रखना है। रीड द क्वेश्चन केयरफुली। मैं अगर आप लोगों के सामने एक क्वेश्चन यहां लिखता हूं, फॉर एग्जाम्पल इफ आई राइट समथिंग हियर, मुझे चैट बॉक्स में आप आंसर कीजिए बिफोर मूविंग टू द नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन। फटाफट बताइएगा बच्चे लोग, -2 to the square कितना होगा? राइट योर आंसर क्विकली। -2 to the square, वेरी गुड, सब बच्चों ने आंसर कर दिया है, सबका आंसर ठीक है, परफेक्ट परफेक्ट। एवरीबडी, यहां पर मुझे 50-50 नहीं करना पड़ रहा है, यहां पे मुझे ऑडियंस पोल के लिए नहीं जाना है। जितने बच्चे हैं, मुझे लगता है देयर इज नॉट अ सिंगल चाइल्ड जो इसका आंसर नहीं कर सकता है। एंड ट्रू, आई गॉट 100% कंसेंट के साथ सबका आंसर आया है 4। सब बच्चों ने आंसर किया 4, जो कि बिल्कुल सही लगता है, बट ये गलत है बच्चे लोग। दिस इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ एसएटी मैथमेटिक्स विच यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड। यही चीज को ध्यान रखना है, और इसी पर एसएटी मैथ्स खेलता है बच्चे लोग, यही समझना है आपको। नाउ देर इज अ डिफरेंस इन दिस -2 स्क्वायर एंड -2 टू द होल स्क्वायर। Are you getting my point? This is minus of 2 square, which is -4, and this is -2 the whole square. It means -2 multiplied by -2, that comes 4. If you understood what I'm trying to say, please type yes in the chat box. There's a difference in -2 to the square and -2 to the whole square. Very good, fantastic. I can see great responses. Everybody has replied yes, yes sir. So that is the beauty of SAT, बच्चे लोग। Be very careful while reading the question. So reading the question carefully is very 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 important। आपको क्वेश्चन को केयरफुल रीड करना है, ये आपको ध्यान रखना है। चलिए हम एक क्वेश्चन पर जंप करते हैं, एंड आई एम एक्सपेक्टिंग क्विक रिप्लाई। मैथ्स है तो मुझे आप लोग को एटलीस्ट आप बच्चों को 1 मिनट देना पड़ेगा। टेक ए मिनट, योर टाइम स्टार्ट्स नाउ। सॉल्व दिस क्वेश्चन, बड़ा सिंपल सा सवाल है। वेटिंग फॉर द रिस्पॉन्सेज इन चैट बॉक्स, आप लोग सॉल्व करिए। जेई मेंस एडवांस के लेवल के सामने एसएटी का कोई, टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, एसएटी का लेवल का कोई मैथ्स की अगर मैं बात करूं तो कहीं स्टैंड ही नहीं करता है एसएटी मैथमेटिक्स। बच्चे लोग जेई मेंस एडवांस के सामने। पहली दोनों दो अलग चीजें। जेई मेंस एडवांस 11 12 के ऊपर बेस्ड होता है, उसमें भी एक्सट्रीम लेवल पर होता है, कि 8 9 10 के लेवल पर होता है, और वो बहुत बेसिक लेवल का होता है। और यहाँ पर एक इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट मैंने मेंशन करूंगा आप लोगों के साथ वाइल सॉल्विंग द क्वेश्चन, जब आप कर रहे हैं, कि इंडिया के जो एडमिशंस होते हैं, वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दैट जो अंडर ग्रेड एडमिशंस इंडिया में होते हैं हमारे, ये पूरी तरीके से क्वांटिटेटिव होते हैं। क्वांटिटेटिव का मतलब क्या है मेरा? 100% वेटेज जो होता है आपके एग्जाम का होता है, इसलिए उनको उनके लेवल के हिसाब से टफ रखा जाता है। बट जो अंडर ग्रेड अब्रॉड एडमिशंस होते हैं, इफ यू टॉक अबाउट MIT, स्टैनफोर्ड, हार्वर्ड, ऑक्सफोर्ड, कैम्ब्रिज, पेन स्टेट, कैलटेक, आपका एग्जाम जो आप SAT, विच इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, ये जो एग्जाम आप देने वाले हैं, इफ यू वोंट बिलीव, बिकॉज एक बहुत बड़ा मिसकंसेप्शन हमारे इंडियन एस्पिरेंट्स को या फिर काफी सारे पेरेंट को भी होता है। आई ऑलवेज कम आई ऑलवेज व्हाट शुड आई से, मतलब मुझे ऐसे क्वेरीज को आई ऑलवेज फेस फ्रॉम पेरेंट की SAT में मेरा बच्चा 1600 ले आएगा तो मेरा तो बच्चे का MIT में एडमिशन हो जाएगा। ऐसा नहीं होता है, बिकॉज द वेटेज ऑफ दिस एग्जाम इज ओनली 20%। तो वट एवर एग्जाम यू टेक फॉर टेकिंग एडमिशन इन अंडर ग्रेड, इसका वेटेज सिर्फ 20%, एंड दैट इज द रीजन इनका लेवल बहुत बेसिक होता है। बिकॉज और दूसरी चीजें हैं जिनके ऊपर वेटेज है, जिनके ऊपर आपका एडमिशन डिपेंड करेगा। दैट्स द रीजन एग्जाम का लेवल बहुत बेसिक और स्टैंडर्ड होता है। ओके, नाउ लेट्स चेक द आंसर। बच्चे लोगों का आंसर चेक करते हैं। बच्चे लोगों ने आंसर जो किया है, CABADB, मिक्स्ड रेस्पॉन्सेज है। CBBCA मिक्स्ड रेस्पॉन्सेज है बच्चे लोगों का। मैं जहां तक देख सकता हूं, डी किसी का नहीं है, बच्चों का बी है, बच्चों का ए है, बच्चों का सी है। ओके, ठीक है, चलो लेट्स टॉक अबाउट दिस क्वेश्चन। सबसे पहले तो आप, मैं बिल्कुल ये मना नहीं कर रहा हूं कि आप इसका आंसर नहीं कर सकते। आई कैन गारंटी दैट यू कैन आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन, बहुत आराम से कर सकते हैं आप इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर। बट अभी कई बच्चों ने इसको अगर सॉल्व किया रहेगा, तो उन्होंने क्या किया होगा कि 1/2, 1/3, सॉरी 1/3, 1/4, 1/5 आपने ऐड कर दिया होगा। ऐड करने पर आपको ये बेसिकली 60, ये आपका 20, ये 15, ये 12 ऐसे आया होगा। 47/60, तो कई बच्चों ने 47/60 मार्क कर दिया। तो सबसे पहले आपको यहाँ पे ये देखना था कि ये बोल रहे हैं व्हाट ही इज लेफ्ट विथ, तो सबसे पहले तो 47/60 गलत हो जाता। जो बच्चों ने ये देख लिया कि कितना बचा है, सेविंग्स के बारे में पूछ रहा है, वो 1 - 47/60 करते, तो उनका 13/60 आता, तो वो ये मार्क कर देते। जिन्होंने ये किया है बच्चे लोग, आप बिल्कुल गड़बड़ कर रहे हो, बिकॉज आपको क्वेश्चन को ध्यान से पढ़ना है। जो मैंने कहा था, रीड द क्वेश्चन केयरफुली, जब मैंने -2 और 2 का एग्जाम्पल दिया था, इट इज आस्किंग फॉर द रिमेनिंग वर्क। जॉन ने स्पेंड किया 1/3, ओके, रेंट पर। अब 1/4 किया है रिमेनिंग का, तो जो बच्चे सॉल्व कर रहे होंगे ट्रेडिशनल मेथड से, उसने ऐसे कोई कर रहा होगा, 1 टोटल में से 1/3 सब्सट्रैक्ट कर दिया, तो 2/3 बचा। अब 2/3 का कितना खर्च किया किसी ने, तो 1/4। अब आप इसका 1/4 निकाल रहे होंगे। अब 1/4 निकालेंगे तो 1/6 आएगा। फिर आप 2/3 में से 1/6 सब्सट्रैक्ट कर रहे होंगे। बच्चे लोग करोगे, आ जाएगा रिस्पॉन्स। बट मैं आपको बताऊं, ये सब करते हुए आप आपका टाइम वेस्ट कर रहे हैं। SAT मैथमेटिक्स आपका हार्ड वर्क नहीं देखता है। मैंने आपको पहले ही समझाया, आपको स्मार्ट करना है, स्मार्ट रोल प्ले करना है, कि कैसे ऐसे क्वेश्चन को आप सिर्फ 5 सेकंड में सॉल्व कर पाए, 10 सेकंड में सॉल्व कर पाए। यही सीखना है आपको SAT मैथमेटिक्स में। तो एक्सप्लेनेशन मैंने दिया है इस क्वेश्चन का इन अ वेरी डिफरेंट वे, बट मैं आपको इसको एक बहुत ही आसान तरीके से एक्सप्लेन करूंगा, अगर मैं आपको करूंगा तो, कि आप कभी भी ऐसे फ्रैक्शन वाले क्वेश्चन है जहां पर फ्रैक्शन देखो 1/3, 1/4, 1/5 है, क्वेश्चन फ्रैक्शन में पूछ रहा है, आप एक नंबर अज्यूम कर लो, और नंबर अज्यूम करके जब आप इसको करोगे, फटाफट फटाफट ये सॉल्व हो जाएगा आपको। और नंबर कौन सा अज्यूम करना है? ट्रेडिशनल मेथड से x या 100 अज्यूम मत करो। टेक अ कन्वीनियंट नंबर जो कि इसके डेनोमिनेटर से डिवाइड होता हो। तो डेनोमिनेटर से डिवाइड होने वाला कॉमन नंबर क्या ले सकते हो आप? आई एम वेरी श्योर सबको दिख रहा होगा कौन सा नंबर है जो 3 4 5 से डिवाइड होता है। कैन आई टेक 60? तो अगर आप 60 लेते हैं बच्चे लोग वर्क, अब आप क्वेश्चन देखिए, 5 सेकंड में सॉल्व होगा। 1/3 खर्च हो गया, 60 का 1/3 दिखता है आपको कितना होता है? 20, तो बचा कितना? 40। फिर इस 40 का 1/4 खर्च हो गया, तो 40 का 1/4 भी ओरली निकल जाएगा बच्चे लोग। 40 में से 10 गया तो बचा कितना, 30। ठीक है, अब इसका 1/5 वो पढ़ाई पे, तो 60 का 1/5 कितना होता है, इंटू 1/5 करेंगे तो 6 होता है, 24 बचा। यही आना है आपका आंसर। आउट ऑफ कितना, 60 था, तो यू सिंपली सी 24/60 इज नथिंग बट 2/5। तो ये अप्रोच अगर आप एग्जाम में यूज करते हो, सो दैट कम्स द इजीएस्ट अप्रोच, ऑल्दो देयर इज अ फास्टेस्ट अप्रोच, जो इससे भी कम टाइम में क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करके तुमको देगा, जो मैंने फर्दर स्लाइड में एक्सप्लेन किया है, बट दैट्स बिकम्स द इजीएस्ट अप्रोच। क्विकली टाइप इन द चैट बॉक्स, क्या आपको समझा नहीं समझा, प्लीज टाइप इन द चैट बॉक्स। टेक अ कन्वीनियंट नंबर, go with that. Okay, great, great, great. I can see the great responses. So हम यहां पर इस क्वेश्चन को इस तरीके से करते हैं तो हमारा क्वेश्चन और आसान हो जाता है। फास्टेस्ट वे, जहां ये क्वेश्चन 2 सेकंड में सॉल्व होगा, ध्यान से समझना। क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है कितना बचा, इट मीन रिमेनिंग के बारे में बात कर रहा है, तो हम फोकस किस पर करते हैं, रिमेनिंग पर। 1/3 पहले किया है खर्च टोटल का, बचे हुए का 1/4 खर्च किया है, बचे हुए का 1/5 खर्च किया है। तो इतना मेहनत करने की जगह पे क्या हम एक लाइन का सॉल्यूशन सीधा बचा हुआ निकाल लेते हैं, व्हाट वी आर लेफ्ट विथ, सिंपल। 1/3 खर्च किया तो बचा कितना, वी आर लेफ्ट विथ 2/3। नाउ दिस इज द रिमेनिंग। नाउ आउट ऑफ दिस रिमेनिंग 1/4 स्पेंड हो गया तो बचा कितना, 3/4। नाउ दिस टोटल इज रिमेनिंग, एंड आउट ऑफ दिस टोटल 1/5 खर्च हो गया तो बचा कितना, 4/5। You can see the answer is there in front of your screen. That gives you a solution just in 5 seconds. 2/3 into 3/4 into 4/5. Because I focused on what is left. Can you guys relate with what I have done? Yes, no? Chat box. Great. Great, great. So this is what is the beauty of SAT, that we need to understand, we need to learn how to do the question in just 2-3 seconds. And this is what we train our students ki aapko SAT maths ho ya SAT verbal ho, whatever it is, we guarantee you कि कैसे आपको 1600 में 1600 लेकर आना चाहिए। ठीक है, तो दिस इज व्हाट द एक्सप्लेनेशन जो मैंने आपको अभी बताया। हम सीधा रिमेनिंग वर्क निकालेंगे। 1/3 खत्म हुआ तो 2/3 बचा, 1/4 खर्च किया तो 3/4 बचा, 1/5 खर्च किया तो 4/5 बचा, एंड यू आर लेफ्ट विद द 4/5 वर्क। So that is how you're supposed to do. So you always need to remember the thumb rule which I said. Read the question carefully, number one, because यहाँ पर भी remaining था और mistake हम करते थे। Second चीज, keep it simple. The number one thing which I said, read the question carefully. Second thing, keep it simple. Now I have kept it simple here. See, the solution has come in just 10 seconds, 5 seconds. ठीक है, चलो और इजी करता हूं मैं आपके लिए। I'll just go through one more question and that's all for mathematics example. बहुत ज्यादा आपका टाइम मैथ्स के ऊपर नहीं स्पेंड करेंगे, बड़ा ही सिंपल सा सवाल है, इसको देख के आंसर मार्क कर सकते हैं आप लोग। फटाफट आंसर मार्क कीजिए चैट बॉक्स में। वेरी गुड, ए। ए, वेरी नाइस, ए ए। ए के नॉट बी डिटरमिन्ड, एक बच्चे का आया ए ए ए। ग्रेट, ग्रेट, ग्रेट। डी, दो बच्चों ने डी रिप्लाई किया, बट सबने ए रिप्लाई किया है। तीसरे बच्चे का डी, आई डोंट नो व्हाई पीपल आर रिप्लाइंग डी, बिकॉज इट्स क्रिस्टल क्लियर। यहाँ पे मुझे दिख रहा है कि एक्स कैंसल्स एक्स, और ए ए ए ए ए। अभी सी भी रिप्लाई आ रहा है कुछ बच्चों का मुझे। ठीक है, चलिए हम इस क्वेश्चन को एक बार डिस्कस कर लेते हैं। मेजॉरिटी ऑफ द स्टूडेंट आर सेइंग ए। तीन बच्चों ने तीन बच्चों ने रिप्लाई किया है डी, और एक दो बच्चों ने रिप्लाई किया है सी। देखो, इस तरह के क्वेश्चन को करने का सिंपल तरीका जो भी हो, बट जनता क्या करती है, जनता क्या करती है, एक्स स्क्वायर इज ग्रेटर देन एक्स वाई। एक एक्स से एक एक्स कैंसिल हो गया, सो एक्स इज ग्रेटर देन वाई। ठीक है, एंड वी मार्क ऑप्शन ए। बच्चे लोग, ये बहुत बड़ा ब्लंडर है, दिस इज अ ब्लंडर, लेट मी टेल यू, दिस इज अ ब्लंडर। व्हाई? बिकॉज इनइक्वालिटी है ये, इट इज नॉट इक्वेशंस कि आपने दोनों तरफ से वो कैंसिल कर दिया, और ये कभी नहीं करते हैं हम, वी नेवर डू दिस, बिकॉज इनइक्वालिटीज में आप आइडियली कैंसिल करने का कॉन्सेप्ट क्या होता है, सबसे पहले तो आपको समझना चाहिए कि ये कैंसिल कैसे होता है। ये कैंसिल नहीं होता है, हम दोनों तरफ सेम ऑपरेशन अप्लाई करते हैं। तो इधर आपने x से डिवाइड किया और इधर भी आपने x से डिवाइड किया, तो ये x इसको कैंसिल किया, ये x इसको कैंसिल किया, एंड व्हाट यू आर लेफ्ट विथ x इज ग्रेटर देन y। दिस इज हाउ इट हैपेंस। बट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि हम इनइक्वालिटी में जब डिवाइड करते हैं, तो अगर आप डिवाइड पॉजिटिव से करते हैं तो इनइक्वालिटी साइन सेम रहता है, बट आप डिवाइड नेगेटिव से करते हैं तो इनइक्वालिटी साइन चेंज हो जाता है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल 10 इज ग्रेटर देन 5, ठीक है, आप 5 से डिवाइड कर दो दोनों तरफ, व्हाट यू विल गेट, द इनइक्वालिटी साइन रिमेन्स सेम क्योंकि पॉजिटिव से किया है। बट दूसरा केस देखिए, 10 इज ग्रेटर देन 5, अगर -5 से डिवाइड कर दीजिए दोनों तरफ, यहां पर आपको जो है -2 है और यहां पर -1 है। नाउ विच इज ग्रेटर, -2 और -1 बच्चे लोग? यू कैन सिंपली सी -1 इज ग्रेटर, सो यहां पर इनइक्वालिटी साइन रिवर्स हो जाता है। सो दैट इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ एसएटी मैथमेटिक्स, जहां पर उनको पता है कि आप कॉमन मिस्टेक क्या करेंगे, और सब बच्चे मेजॉरिटी एक्स मार्क करेंगे, सॉरी ए मार्क करेंगे, बट इसका एक्चुअल आंसर होगा डी, because we do not have the sign given of x और y, और हमको ये भी नहीं पता है कि x जो है पॉजिटिव इंटीजर है, नेगेटिव इंटीजर है, जीरो है, हमको जो वेरिएबल्स हैं उनके बारे में कोई इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं है, इसलिए ये बिल्कुल करना गलत होगा। द एक्सप्लेनेशन इज मेंशन्ड हियर, जहां पर मैंने नंबर्स और एग्जांपल्स देकर दिए हैं सॉल्यूशन को, बट मैंने अभी आपको जो एक्सप्लेन किया है, आई हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड यू दैट इन अ वे जहां पर आपको कॉन्सेप्ट से क्लियर होगा कि नेगेटिव डिवीजन और मल्टीप्लीकेशन से इनइक्वालिटी साइन चेंज हो जाता है। आई होप दिस इज क्लियर टू एवरीवन। कैन आई सी द रिस्पॉन्स इन चैट बॉक्स? Great. So I can see the great prompt responses of the brilliant minds. Great. Wonderful. 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 बच्चे लोग आपके कुछ और क्वेरीज आ रहे हैं कि सर एग्जाम्स 12 के बाद होता है, कब होता है? हम लोग इस आपके और क्वेरीज को आंसर करेंगे जस्ट एक 5 मिनट के अंदर, डू नॉट वरी। ये एग्जाम 12 के बाद नहीं होता है, ऐसा नहीं है नेसेसरी, आप कभी भी एसएटी लिख सकते हैं। यू कैन टेक एसएटी एग्जामिनेशन इन क्लास 8, 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, anytime you can take SAT examination. The validity of the score of SAT is 5 years, so you can take anytime. सेंटर कहां होगा बच्चे लोग? हम लोग हर चीज पर आपके आंसर करेंगे। लेट्स गो थ्रू द स्लाइड फर्स्ट। Q&A करेंगे हम, क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर्स करेंगे। ओके, नाउ आई एम डन विद द क्वेश्चंस। मैंने आपको जो बताने की कोशिश की है वो एसएटी मैथमेटिक्स को बताने की कोशिश की है कि डिफिकल्ट नहीं होगा बिल्कुल भी, बच्चे लोग ध्यान रखो, ट्रस्ट मी। एसएटी मैथमेटिक्स में आई गारंटी, एलन ग्लोबल गारंटीज की आपको हम किसी भी तरीके से उस लेवल पर लेकर जाएंगे वेयर यू विल गेट अ वंडरफुल स्कोर। बस आपको प्रोसेस को फॉलो करना होगा। नाउ यहां पर एक और चीज हमने समझाने की कोशिश की है कि आपका जो वेटेज है, मतलब कितने कौन वाले पार्ट से कितने क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, तो यहां पर देखो सामने बिल्कुल रखा है हमने। अलजेब्रा से आपको नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस ऑलमोस्ट 13 से 15 आता है। सिमिलरली जो एडवांस मैथमेटिक्स है वहां पर भी 13 से 15 क्वेश्चंस बिल्कुल आ सकते हैं आपके एग्जाम में। एंड प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग एंड डेटा एनालिसिस एंड ज्योमेट्री एंड ट्रिग्नोमेट्री से 5 to 7 क्वेश्चंस आते हैं। एक दूसरी चीज हमने मेंशन की है कि क्वेश्चंस के दो टाइप होते हैं बच्चे, एमसीक्यूज एंड एसपीआर। नाउ एमसीक्यूज आपको पता है एमसीक्यूज क्या होते हैं? क्वेश्चंस होंगे विथ मल्टीपल चॉइस क्वेश्चंस, आई मीन देयर विल बी ऑप्शंस देयर। एंड एसपीआर क्या होंगे? जहां पर कोई ऑप्शन नहीं होगा, यू हैव टू राइट योर आंसर देयर इन द बॉक्स गिवन प्रोवाइडेड। 75% मतलब 3/4 पार्ट एमसीक्यूज का होता है, 1/4 पार्ट आपका एसपीआर क्वेश्चन का होता है। दैट इज इट। ओके, नाउ यहां तक होने के बाद जो है, I hope we were pretty clear about SAT structure. We discussed SAT maths, we discussed SAT verbal, we discussed a few questions with solution, with explanation. So we tried and we will consistent try our level best कि आपके और भी SAT से related queries वगैरह जो होंगे हम उनको solve करेंगे। Now I would request Kovida ma'am if you can just take this stage to discuss the further slides, ma'am. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Abhishek sir. Maths has never been my cup of tea, but then now it seems I can try my hands with quant. I mean, I can try my hands at quant. All right. Can we move on to the next part? I'll very quickly take a moment to introduce the offerings of Allen Global Studies Division to our dear audience present here. We have a few courses. We have a course for students of class 9 and 10, the the beginner courses for the students of class 9, and the learners courses for the students of class 10. Here, apart from the skill set mentioned here, there are multiple other aspects that we look into. For example, we have live career projects, we have data analysis, financial literacy, then we have mnemonics. Other than that, we ask you to shadow a professional, perhaps. So, interview preparation, process document, introduction to research paper. So basically, if I'm supposed to put long story short, class 9 and 10 are the skill building years for us here, and class 11 and 12 are the test prep and the application years. So in class 9 and 10, your learning horses have to be on the runway 24/7, because there is a lot of rigorous training that you go through. You have to learn multiple skills. Your skill set needs to be brushed up enough to actually make sure that you have a very strong profile that helps you secure a seat for yourself in your target college or the dream university. So if we look at that, plus 9 and 10 is something, because you have a lot of bandwidth, you can experiment. You can experiment with your career choices. You could probably experiment with exploring yourself in terms of various options available in the market. So that is how class 9 and 12 are the skill building years for you, and class 11th and 12th are the profile building. No, I'm sorry, the test prep and the application years for you. So if we could move on to the offerings of grade 11 and 12, Abhishek sir, if you could help the students understand that.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, so before I discuss the offering of 11th, 10th, 12th, already Kovida ma'am she has discussed that in 9th and 10th we focuses on foundation, and 11th and 12th we basically do the test preparation and the documentation part. Now we need to understand one thing, बच्चे लोग, आप लोगों को एक चीज समझना है सबसे पहले तो, because I can understand यहाँ पर अलग अलग तरह की जनता है। वो भी जनता है जिसको ये पूरा पता है कि एसएटी में क्या होना चाहिए, और वो भी जनता है जिनको शायद आइडिया नहीं है कि ये क्या हम करवा क्या रहे हैं आपको। तो मैंने आप लोगों को एकदम बिगिनिंग में ही एक बात कही थी, अगर आपने ध्यान से सुना होगा तो, एसएटी एग्जाम के बारे में और इंडियन अंडर ग्रेड एडमिशन के बारे में। हमारे इंडिया का जो एडमिशन होता है वो क्वांटिटेटिव होता है। आपके जेई एग्जाम के ऊपर ही आपका 100% वेटेज है, आपके नीट एग्जाम के ऊपर आपका 100% वेटेज है। आपने कथक सीखा है, आप बहुत नेशनल लेवल शूटर हो, आपको क्लासिकल म्यूजिक आता है, आप बहुत अच्छे सोशल वर्कर हो, ये कहीं भी आईआईटी में एडमिशन के लिए हेल्प नहीं करता है। बट आपके एडिशनल स्किल्स, जिसको हम प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग कहते हैं, आपने अपने करियर में रेगुलर स्कूल एकेडमिक्स के अलावा और ये एंट्रेंस एग्जामिनेशन के अलावा क्या क्या किया है, दिस मैटर्स अ लॉट इन स्टडी अब्रॉड। एमआईटी, स्टैनफोर्ड, इनके एडमिशन में आपने एडिशनल जो चीजें की हैं वो बहुत हेल्प करता है। एंड दैट इज द रीजन एंड दैट इज द पर्पस वी हैव डिजाइंड आवर कोर्स स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम क्लास 9th, where in 9th and 10th ये जो हम सारी चीजें कर रहे हैं, कहीं आपके दिमाग में ये नहीं है कि इनका पर्पस क्या है, क्यों कर रहे हैं आप। तो इनका पर्पस ही बच्चे लोग ये है कि आपका फाउंडेशन प्रोफाइल, आप हर जगह देखो 9th and 10th के ऑफरिंग में जो हमने यहाँ पर हमने जो लिखा है, प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग सजेशन, प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग सजेशन, ये आपको जो दिखाई दे रहा है, ये इसका बहुत बड़ा पर्पस है। ये प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग सजेशंस जो दिखाई दे रहे हैं और ये सारी चीजें जो यहाँ पर मेंशन्ड है, ये सब आपका पोर्टफोलियो डेवलप कर रहा होता है। क्योंकि जो मैंने आपसे बात कही थी वेटेज वाली, तो एक स्टैंडर्ड वेटेज के बारे में मैं आपसे बात करूं, ऑल्दो डिफर करता है कंट्री टू कंट्री, बट एक स्टैंडर्ड बात करूं तो अंडर ग्रेड के लिए 20% वेटेज ही होता है आपके एग्जाम्स जो आप देने वाले हो, एसएटी, आईएलटीएस, टॉफल, व्हाटएवर, 20% वेटेज आपके एग्जाम्स का होता है। एंड अप्रोक्सीमेटली अप टू 40%, 30 to 40% वेटेज आपके प्रोफाइल का होता है, और उसके लिए ही हम इतना कुछ आपके साथ कर रहे होते हैं। एंड बाकी जो आपका 30 to 40% वेटेज बचता है वो किस चीज का होता है, तो दैट इज समथिंग जो इंडियन एडमिशन में कहीं नहीं होता है, विच इज कॉल्ड डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, जिसका 40% वेटेज होता है, जो हम यूनिवर्सिटी एप्लीकेशन या डॉक्यूमेंटेशन कहते हैं। हम इनके बारे में बाद में सेशन करेंगे डेफिनेटली। I discuss this so that you understand the design of our program. हम अपने प्रोग्राम को आपको बता पाए, तो हम 9th 10th में आपका बेस बिल्डिंग करते हैं और प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग करते हैं, आपका फाउंडेशन स्ट्रॉन्ग करते हैं, एंड द मोमेंट यू कम इन क्लास 11 हम आपको उन एग्जाम्स के लिए प्रिपेयर करना शुरू करते हैं जो एग्जाम्स का रिक्वायरमेंट है आपके स्टडी अब्रॉड के लिए, MIT जाने के लिए, स्टैनफोर्ड, कैम्ब्रिज, ऑक्सफोर्ड, पेन स्टेट, NTU, NUS, जहां भी जाने के लिए जो भी एंट्रेंस का एग्जामिनेशन कर आपको प्रिपरेशन की जरूरत है, हम आपको उस एग्जाम के लिए प्रिपेयर कराएंगे. सो आइडियली 11th क्लास का कोर्स हमारा जो है, इट हैज वी हैव गिवन इट्स अ नेम ऑफ यूनिब्रिज 11, यूनिब्रिज 12. तो आप 11 ध्यान से देखोगे तो टेस्ट प्रिपरेशन, प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग, प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग, ये सारी चीजें प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग. तो 11th इज अगेन, 9th एंड 10th में प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग कंटिन्यू है, 11th में भी आपका प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग कंटिन्यू है, और साथ में एग्जाम प्रिपरेशन कर रहे हैं. एंड वंस यू कम इन क्लास 12, तो ध्यान से अगर आप देखो, इसी के बारे में मैंने कहा था, डॉक्यूमेंटेशन एंड यूनिवर्सिटी एप्लीकेशन, इट कैरीज अ ग्रेट वेटेज, अप्रोक्सीमेटली 40%, जहां पर हमको आपका कंट्री प्रोग्राम सिलेक्शन करना है, हमको आपको एप्लीकेशन के साथ गाइडेंस देना है. ये जो एक छोटी सी चीज लिखी है, थॉरो डॉक्यूमेंट कंपाइलेशन, इट हैज अ ग्रेट रोल. कई तरह के डॉक्यूमेंट्स प्रिपेयर करने होते हैं, लेटर ऑफ रिकमेंडेशन, SOPs, एसेज, ये नाम जो आप अभी सुन रहे हैं, इनका बहुत बड़ा रोल है. इन डॉक्यूमेंट्स के बेसिस पर आप रिजेक्ट हो सकते हैं, सेलेक्ट हो सकते हैं, आपका स्कॉलरशिप वैरी मैटर करता है. तो बहुत बड़ा रोल होता है इसका, और हम ये क्लास 12 में अपने बच्चों को असिस्ट करते हैं. सो इन शॉर्ट, 11th इज टेस्ट प्रिपरेशन प्लस प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग, 12th is the entirely application. We have a course for a student who join us in class 11. So वो 11th और 12th में separately enroll होने की जगह वो integrated admission लेते हैं. तो आप यहाँ पर जो दो स्किल सीख रहे हो, तो ये इस कोर्स के अंदर आता है. So why this course? It is recommended for many of the student because कई जगहों पर आपको बेनिफिट मिल जाता है. वो आप अपने अपने सिटी के हमारे एलन ग्लोबल के काउंसलर से डिस्कस कर सकते हैं डिटेल इस कोर्स के बारे में. तो मैंने आई जस्ट ट्राइड टू मेक यू अंडरस्टैंड द डिजाइन ऑफ आवर प्रोग्राम विच वी हैव मेड इन अ वे कि हम आपका टेस्ट प्रिपरेशन भी कराएं नंबर 1, हम आपका प्रोफाइल बिल्डिंग भी करें नंबर 2, एंड एट द एंड विच इज लास्ट बट नॉट द लीस्ट, हम आपका एप्लीकेशन करें, डॉक्यूमेंटेशन करें. बिकॉज आपने इतना बढ़िया टेस्ट दिया, आपने इतना स्ट्रॉन्ग प्रोफाइल बनाया, उसको आप शोकेस अगर यूनिवर्सिटी को नहीं कर पाएंगे तो दैट इज ऑफ नो यूज, एंड दैट इज डन थ्रू द डॉक्यूमेंटेशन. सो आई होप दिस इज प्रिटी क्लियर टू ऑल ऑफ यू कि आपको एडमिशन के लिए रिक्वायर्ड होता है एग्जामिनेशन, प्रोफाइल एंड स्ट्रॉन्ग डॉक्यूमेंटेशन. सो ये 3 चीजें हैं. नाउ कोविदा मैम, it's over to you talking about our some of the great results.
Thank you for the brief, Abhishek, sir. I think the results are self-explanatory. You have the scores of the students right in front of you on the screen. So we've had students who have secured a perfect score, which is 1600 on 1600. And 1500 plus, well, there are quite a few. In fact, many students. So SAT is something that can help you, it can also act as a stepping stone when you want to walk towards your dream university. And it plays a very crucial role. And it can also be a part of profile building, not a major part, but then because profile building consists of many other things. However, it can be a major part of the test prep. So you need to ensure that you find the right place for yourself. I see a lot of students have questions. Most of the questions have been answered. If your question has not been answered, I request you to get in touch with our expert at the helpline number or visit our website. The helpline number is given in the chat box. Please make sure you take a note of it. And it was lovely speaking to all of you on a Sunday morning, which is turned into the afternoon now almost. But it was lovely speaking to all of you. Should you have any questions? Do you have any further questions that you would want us to address? The question says, does we get scholarship provided? Oh, yes, you do get scholarships from other universities. All right. Oh, yes. Let's look at a few frequently asked questions and some of the questions that you might have for us. I see a few questions. I'll take up a few questions Abhishek sir, I would request you to help us answer some of them. Please allow me to take a moment.
Sure, ma'am.
I'm trying to, because some of the questions they've been answered in the chat box, some are left to be answered. So I'm taking up the questions that haven't that are not answered as yet. I'll take up the question, and if you could help us with the answer. So a candidate has asked, can I use a calculator on the entire SAT?
Okay. Uh, See, if you're talking about entire SAT, no, you cannot use calculator throughout the entire SAT. Although the calculator is allowed in math section, you cannot use the calculator for verbal section, for English section. But yes, you can use the calculator, on-screen calculator, or you can carry your own calculator in math section, not throughout the SAT. I hope
The
this
next,
this answer gives the satisfactory thing to the students.
yeah, it does. The next question is there a penalty for guessing on the SAT? I think you did answer this question while you
Yes,
were
yes, we
addressing it.
already
But you can take
answered
this
this
up again.
question. Yeah,
Yeah.
there is no
Uh,
penalty as such. It is required to mark the answer. Just do a educated guess, because if you leave it, it is anyways going to not giving any score. But if you guess, the probability enhances. So it's better you mark it. But there is no penalty for wrong answer.
the next question says, can I use scratch paper for calculations on the evidence-based reading and writing section?
Okay, very good question. I mean, student might think that हमको रफ पेपर या फिर स्क्रैच बुक जो है मैथ्स के लिए तो मिल जाएगा, बट वर्बल के लिए मिलेगा या नहीं मिलेगा? डेफिनेटली यू विल बी प्रोवाइडेड अ डेजिग्नेटेड स्क्रैच बुक फॉर द वर्बल आल्सो. ऑल्दो फिर से वही बात रिपीट करूंगा, स्क्रैच पेपर मिलेगा आपको, बट कैलकुलेटर अलाउड नहीं होगा. यू विल गेट डेजिग्नेटेड स्क्रैच पेपर फॉर दैट. Okay, ma'am, there
Uh,
are a few questions related to verbal also. If you can answer these questions, ma'am, I can
yes,
see
yes, sir.
students asking a few questions of verbal. There is a question student is asking, does the SAT test specific vocabulary words?
No, it doesn't. The SAT doesn't directly test vocab, as I just mentioned. If you go back to the word and context section, but so it doesn't list words and their definitions. However, a strong vocabulary is crucial for understanding the reading passages and answering questions effectively. The test focuses on comprehension and the
Ma'am, we are not able to
ability
hear
to
you. Your
analyze
video had
the
stuck, ma'am.
broad vocabulary base about. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, you're quite audible now, ma'am.
Yeah, so I just said that the SAT doesn't directly test vocab by listing words and their definitions. However, a strong vocabulary is crucial for understanding the reading passages and answering the questions effectively. The test focuses on reading comprehension and the ability to analyze complex text, which requires a good vocabulary base. However, you don't have to come up with dictionary definitions and dictionary meanings, as I just mentioned in the word and context section.
Great, great. I hope this is clear to the students. Ma'am, again, there is a question from, I can see 5, 6 people asking the same question. So if you can answer this question, how is this digital SAT different from the earlier SAT, the traditional pen paper SAT?
The digital SAT, it is administered on a computer instead of using paper and pencil. So it features the same questions, evidence-based reading and writing in math, but with enhanced security measures. And it has different formats of questions, such as drag and drop, interactive elements. The content remains the same. However, if you look at the reading and writing section per se, or the verbal section, the length of the passages has shortened. The duration of the test has decreased. So that way, that's the major difference.
Great. Now, ma'am, I can see a question asked by a student immediately after the answer, because we were talking about digital SAT. So now the one student is asking, what device can one use to take this digital SAT? They're asking the device. So whether the institute, the center provide the device or they carry, what is the answer, ma'am? What device they can use?
The digital SAT, it can be taken on a variety of devices. It can include your laptops, your desktops, or tablets. However, the college board, which is the governing body and the conducting body, has specific technical requirements and guidelines for devices to ensure that they meet the necessary standards. So it's important to check these requirements beforehand.
Great. Ma'am, I can see variety of questions students are asking, and probably we would not be able to answer all the questions immediately, but I'm picking those questions which are correlated to the answer which you are saying. Now, again, there is a question
Right.
asked by a student that because it's a digital SAT at test centers, so how is the security of this SAT maintained? How is the security of this digital SAT maintained?
So the College Board, it employs several security measures to maintain the integrity of the digital SATs. These include secure browsers, locking down the device during the test to prevent access to other applications or the internet, and using proctoring software to monitor the test-taking environment. Additionally, randomization of questions and sections, it helps prevent cheating.
Great, great, great. All right, thank you very much, ma'am. And again, a correlated
Uh,
question that a student is asking that can I take digital SAT at home? Okay, I would prefer to answer this question if you allow, ma'am.
yes, sir, most certainly.
Thank you
I'll
very
type
much,
in the
ma'am.
answers to the rest of the questions in the
Please,
Q&A
ma'am.
section by then.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so can I take this digital SAT at home? बच्चे लोगों के क्वेश्चंस भी बड़े मजेदार हैं मैम, मतलब कन्वीनियंस देखने लगते हैं बच्चे की डिजिटल एसएटी है तो क्या हम घर पे दे सकते हैं?
I know.
ओके ओके सो आंसर टू दिस क्वेश्चन की देखो कैसा है कि डिजिटल एसएटी प्राइमरली तो डेजिग्नेटेड टेस्ट सेंटर्स पर ही होता था और होता है, जैसे कि हमारा पेन पेपर वाला एसएटी होता था। बट कुछ सर्टेन सर्कमस्टांसेस में जो मैम अभी बात कर रहे थे, हम सिक्योर ब्राउजर होता है, प्रॉक्टरिंग सॉफ्टवेयर, काफी सारी चीजें हैं, बट बहुत सर्टेन सर्कमस्टांसेस में यस कह सकते हैं कि आप रिमोट प्रॉक्टरिंग सॉफ्टवेयर ऐसे कुछ ऑप्शंस होते हैं जिसके थ्रू जो है देर आर चांसेस कि हम ये घर पर दे सकते हैं, बट अगेन आई एम टेलिंग यू दिस इज नॉट येट वाइड स्प्रेड। तो ये है या नहीं है, इसका बेटर आंसर तो अभी के लिए हम यही कहेंगे कि डेजिग्नेटेड सेंटर पर ही होता है, बट आप लेटेस्ट अपडेट के लिए हमेशा कॉलेज बोर्ड के साइट को रेफर कीजिए।
Right.
यस,
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू
The
मैम।
students are asking what is called a good score in SAT.
ओके, गुड स्कोर के बारे में अगर बच्चे लोग आप लोग पूछ रहे हो तो मैं तो कहूंगा 1600 इज अ गुड स्कोर। 1600 इज अ गुड स्कोर एंड फॉर दैट वी आर हियर फॉर यू। बट ठीक है, आई वुड जस्ट ट्राई टू गिव यू अ वेरी क्रिस्पी आंसर फॉर दिस कि देखिए एसएटी में जैसे हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया एग्जाम का वेटेज 20% है, बट डोंट फील कि ये 20% है तो मेरा स्कोर कुछ भी आ जाएगा और बाकी चीजों से कर लोगे चलेगा, बिल्कुल नहीं है। यू हैव टू हैव अ ग्रेट स्कोर। तो अगर आप एक गुड स्कोर के बारे में बात कर रहे हो तो 1500 टच करना आई वुड सजेस्ट इज अ गुड स्कोर। 1450 and above is a good score, 1500 above is a great score, 1550 above is an excellent score, 1600 is a wonderful score. So आप अपना मिनिमम बेंचमार्क रखिए अगर आप एक एसएटी एस्पिरेंट हो कि 1500 के ऊपर लैंड करना है हमको, दैट शुड बी अ गुड स्कोर।
I think the next question is quite similar. It says, what score in SAT ensures admission in universities like MIT, Harvard, or Ivy League?
ओके ओके सो ये बच्चे लोगों का ये क्वेश्चन कि क्या स्कोर चाहिए हमको, हम एमआईटी जाएं, स्टैनफोर्ड जाएं, हार्वर्ड जाएं, कैलटेक जाएं। तो देखिए बच्चे लोग, एज आई अर्लियर मेंशन्ड, अगर आप ध्यान से समझे होंगे चीजों को, सिर्फ और सिर्फ एसएटी स्कोर डज नॉट डिसाइड कि आप एमआईटी जाने वाले हैं या स्टैनफोर्ड जाने वाले, यही समझना है आपको। हर चीज का यहाँ पर तीन चीजों के बारे में बात की गई है, एसएटी स्कोर, प्रोफाइल एंड डॉक्यूमेंटेशन। इन तीन चीजों पर डिपेंड करता है कि आप कहाँ जा रहे हैं। वी हैव स्टूडेंट्स जो 1480 के स्कोर के साथ एमआईटी गए हैं, एंड वी हैव स्टूडेंट्स जो 1570 स्कोर के साथ भी एमआईटी नहीं बट टॉप यूनिवर्सिटीज में लाइक एमआईटी नहीं बट कैम्ब्रिज में गए हैं या फिर अदर यूनिवर्सिटीज में गए हैं। तो फिर भी मैं कहूंगा कि आपको जो हमने अभी प्रीवियस क्वेश्चन में डिस्कस किया, एक मिनिमम बेस्ट वाला स्कोर मेंटेन करने की कोशिश करो, 1500 प्लस, दैट विल डेफिनेटली टेक यू टू द टू द वर्ल्ड बेस्ट डेस्टिनेशंस, बट उसके साथ हमको दूसरी चीजों को भी करने की जरूरत होगी. डज नॉट एसएटी स्कोर अलोन कैन नॉट डिसाइड कि 1600 में 1600 आ गया तो मेरा एमआईटी सेट हो गया. दैट डज नॉट हैपन. आई होप द आंसर क्लियर्स देयर डाउट, मैम.
It does. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I'm trying to answer a few questions in the chat box.
Yes,
By
ma'am. I would just, sorry to interrupt. Your voice is coming from very far. You're not very much audible, ma'am.
Can you hear me now? There was some problem with the earphone, so I think that's
ठीक है, ma'am. Just try to keep the device closer so that we can hear you properly, ma'am.
yes. So I'm trying to answer the questions of the students given in the Q&A box and the chat box. So if by any chance your question remains unanswered, though we are trying to answer all the questions here, please feel free to get in touch with our expert at the helpline number or visit the website for a detailed information. Sir, the next question says, can I get a great score in SAT if I don't have a good portfolio?
Ma'am, can you please repeat the question?
It says, can I get a great score in SAT if I don't have a good portfolio? So I think portfolio and SAT scores, there are two, these are two
different things.
Yeah. Right. This
बच्चा अच्छा प्रोफाइल होना से तुम्हारा एसएटी का अच्छा स्कोर आने का क्या कनेक्शन है? एसएटी में अच्छा स्कोर आने के लिए आपको मैथ्स और वर्बल में अच्छा स्कोर करना होगा. दीज आर टू डिफरेंट थिंग्स.
Right. Then there's another question. Do you provide online coaching or offline coaching for SAT? This is entirely online. So the good part is you can enjoy the coaching at the comfort of your home. When I say enjoy, I mean enjoy the learning process. So the next question is, ma'am, I'm in 12th standard. How long does it take to complete documentation and assess for the universities, as I'm also preparing for JE, so I don't have much time to spare?
Okay, so I can see the student is in class. What I understood is, ma'am, because you are not very much audible, the student is in class 12, right?
Right, sir.
And she's asking how much time does it take, because she doesn't have a lot of time, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I would request, see, this is something where you need a customized plan in this case. So if you are already in class 12, we have to work on your SAT test preparation. You have to go through the some more entrance examination, the language proficiency, which is TOEFL, IELTS. At the same time, we have to do your applications. So you need a customized counseling for this. So I would also request that if you can connect on the helpline number. In short, I can say not only you, but every year we get students in class 12 also, and how to manage all these things all together is what is required, and we would let you understand and how it can be done in one word solution. It is still doable. You still can get good score and good colleges. All you need to understand how to manage the time.
Right. The next question is, January JEE exam is coming. Can I try SAT now and allocate separate time for it in our JEE revision time?
तो ये फिर से मैम वही वाली बात होगी कि बच्चे लोग देखो, एसएटी के बारे में हमने अभी बात किया. एसएटी एंट्रेंस इतना टाइम नहीं लेने वाला है, ट्रस्ट मी. ईमानदारी का आप रोज का, इफ यू एक्चुअली डेडिकेट योर 1 hour एवरी डे आपके क्लासेस के अलावा, trust me, SAT can be cracked in one attempt with a very good score. और विद इन 2 to 3 months आप एक एक घंटा तो अपना आप बहुत आराम से दे सकते हो. आपको जेई को रोकने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. अंडरस्टैंड कीजिए, वी आर नॉट टेलिंग यू टू स्टॉप योर जेई प्रिपरेशन. आप जेई प्रिपरेशन के साथ साथ अपने दिन का 1 घंटा भी निकाल लेते हो, एसएटी बहुत आराम से प्रिपेयर हो जाता है. सो आई वुड सजेस्ट यू कि हम कुछ रोके बिना भी एसएटी प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं. एसएटी टेस्ट प्रिपरेशन के लिए आपको अपना दिल, जान, आत्मा, शरीर सब नहीं लगाना है. आपको सिर्फ ऑनेस्टी के साथ, ईमानदारी के साथ सारा कुछ साइड करके 1 घंटा निकालना है. practice the mocks which we provide, practice the solve the papers which we give you, classes attend कीजिए और बहुत आराम से SAT 2 से 3 महीने में होता है. So without hampering anything, you can simultaneously prepare for the SAT examination.
Right. I think the rest of the questions are related to the batch details, is what I can see. Sir, there is a student that has asked this for the second time. Ma'am, can you please once replay the slide that showed the Indian universities that accept SAT scores?
Sure, ma'am. I will just go on that particular slide where the student want to understand what Indian universities accept the SAT score.
Right. So I think the rest of the questions, they are related to the batch details, the timings, the online and offline process, and their JE and SAT preparation management. For that, I would request the students to get in touch with us at our helpline number. It says, "Sir, can you explain the scholarship system in SAT for college admission?" I think again, let's take this up. All right, sir, you may change the slide.
बच्चे लोग देखो, मैं आपको एक बात बताता हूँ. स्कॉलरशिप जो मुझे समझ में आ रहा है, अभी आपने ये जब बात छेड़ा है, तो ये हर किसी के लिए सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट मुद्दा है कि स्कॉलरशिप कैसे मिलेगा. सिंपल एक लाइन का आंसर कर रहा हूं इसका आपको, जो मैंने अभी बात की. 20% तक का वेटेज आपके एग्जाम का, 40% तक का वेटेज आपके प्रोफाइल का और 40% तक का वेटेज आपके डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का. इन तीनों को सही तरीके से श्रिंक में लेके बैलेंस करके चलेंगे. Trust me, we have students who have got 100% scholarship, and that is not by chance. It is consistent. हम पिछले 7 साल से बच्चों को 100% स्कॉलरशिप दिला रहे हैं. लास्ट ईयर के बारे में भी बात करूं मैं, उसके पिछले साल के बारे में भी बात करूं, उसके पिछले साल के बारे में बात करूं. वी हैव स्टूडेंट्स जिनका 100% स्कॉलरशिप ऑक्सफोर्ड में भी आया है, MIT में भी आया है, कैलटेक में भी आया है, एंड मेनी टॉप यूनिवर्सिटीज. तो स्कॉलरशिप कैसे होगा इसके ऊपर एक सेपरेट, आई थिंक कोविदा मैम, हम एक वेबिनार प्लान कर सकते हैं बहुत डिटेल्ड. बट इन शॉर्ट बच्चे लोग डेफिनेटली समझिए, इन तीनों चीजों का बैलेंसिंग सही तरीके से अगर करने आ गया तो आपका स्कॉलरशिप इज नॉट अ बिग डील.
Right. All right. Perfect. So these are the platforms you can get in touch with us on. We have Facebook. You can connect with us on our Instagram or LinkedIn platform. You have other webinars available on the YouTube channel. So you can probably you might want to watch those videos so that you can understand things a little better. And for some detailed information, we look forward to planning some more informative webinars for you. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy. It was lovely speaking to all of you. Enjoy your Sunday.
Thank you very much for your time, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time, dear aspirants, because it is really, I can see the spark inside you that Sunday को सुबह सुबह हमने वेबिनार ज्वाइन किया. सो आई कैन सी कि आपके अंदर वो स्पार्क है टू अंडरस्टैंड कि किस तरीके से हम वर्ल्ड के बेस्ट यूनिवर्सिटीज में जाएं और किस तरीके से हमको ज्यादा से ज्यादा स्कोर और स्कॉलरशिप आए. सो इट वाज रियली वंडरफुल coming here on this platform to discuss about SAT. Thank you very much, everyone here. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Dipesh sir. And thank you, Abhishek sir.